patriotic, it means you put your heart towards a cause. Now when you put your heart towards a cause, then you will now know if there's a problem in the society and how you can fix it. In fixing a problem, that brings about enterprise. Because you'll be rewarded for what you were able to solve, not the problem you created. It's the problem you solved.
Besides being patriotic, we have to know our rights, we have to know our privileges. When we know our rights and our privileges, we can demand for them. But then we have to get that identity as Nigeria.
Saying another good ingredient that will guarantee sustainable economic development is policies, government policies. Formation, implementation, and sustainability. And governments in succession should be able to look at what their previous governments have done, or governments should be able to design a people policy that subsequent governments can tie into. What do you think, Sonny?
Yeah, like you said, policy formation, it's all about starting up a process, implementing it, and also running with it.
Yeah.
Now, Nigeria have good policies, very, very laudable ones. But the problem is that once it is implemented in the tenure, the regime of a particular, the person who brings about it as a precursor, when he leaves or he or she leaves, it dies. So I would say, like one president said about Africa, he said Africa should not be known for great individuals or great names, but great institutions. So the policy that we enunciate or we bring into bearing, we should be able to implement it to affect the average individual. And the policies will definitely go and build strong institutions. Now the institution, the government that brings such policy will not be there to run the institution. This is you and I that will be there to run the institution. And so we have to have good core values, because without values to run such institution, the institution will die. Values like integrity, values like time management. You have to be there on time. Even if it's a government-run institution, that doesn't mean that you have to be there at 9 o'clock and leave when it's 3, or by 2 you still want to go for school run. It will kill the institution. So we have values of integrity. Because integrity is the value you place on yourself. You should have values like shun corruption, irrespective of whose else is God. And all those values will help this institution to run very well. Like I always say, values are caught than they are taught. It's one thing to just say it and not live it. So we have to live these values as individuals, because we know that if this institution grow up, if this institution can be sustained, it will affect the general populace. And when you affect the general populace, it will affect our per capita income and what we generate as a people.
That's awesome. Like just to add to what you said, to be able to sustain a policy, you must make sure the people themselves are part of the policy that you are evolving. When you evolve a policy that's just that represents a fragment of the global space of the Nigerian entity, you are definitely going to meet resistance along the line. Somebody comes and thinks this policy does not represent the interests of the entire Nigerians. Each subsequent policies, all stakeholders must be involved in the formulation, especially before during the implementation as well. Because when we all are part of people who evolve it, and we are all part of people who implement it, if somebody is thwarting the policy or starting to stop it, we all will resist it because we want to sustain it. And that is the future of Nigeria.
I think to add to that, policy formulation is not the major point now. It's not the onus of where we should be now. I think it should be implementation and sustainability. The laws are there, the policies are there, the legislations are there, guidelines, rules, regulations, they are all there. But it is in the implementation. Now, I will take it from this perspective. If we want to measure how successful a policy has been or a government has been, there should be a predefined yardstick for measurement. Let us say, for instance, the institutions which are now assumed to be strong, if the institutions are strong, they can ask, okay, let's form a 50 years plan for our government. Let's form a 50 years plan for this policy. 50 years plan is that in 50 years time, we want to be here, we want to be here, we want to be here. Now, every government that is coming will say, okay, this government is going to achieve this socially, economically, environmentally in the next 5 years. We give now the responsibility of achieving that rests on the predefined perspective, the predefined measures of checking if it's successful that the institution has placed upon that government. We say in 4 years' time, this government should have achieved, Now in 4 years' time, we'll now begin to tick off from what you have predefined. Did he do this? Did he do this? Did he? We now tick off. If we tick off, we can now say this person is successful. What you find out is that each person comes up and says, I'm going to do this. At the end, whether he does it or not, nobody goes in accountable. But if the institutions have set up a yardstick of measurement before he starts, before he steps in, this is the measurement. You don't set the rules when the game has begun. You set the rules before the game begins. This is how we're going to measure it. In 4 years' time, we should have achieved this, which will now say that this policy has not been successful. Now, in 4 years' time, we'll now go back to the drawing table. The yardstick of measure will not tick off. We cannot say he has succeeded, he did not succeed. Now, 4 years has gone. We look at another 8 years. In that, we can know that within 50 years' time, this policy has been successful. This policy has been successful. This government succeeded. Because we cannot measure if we do not have a yardstick of measurement. That's what I think. So this institution should form this yardstick and be able to tick off in time due that this person has succeeded. This policy has succeeded. That's the way I think it should be.
Wow. We've said so much. You know, the final one more thing is infrastructure. Infrastructure is as important as every other thing. We can't talk about the future without looking at, in that future, where would we be? Power, electricity, good roads. It cannot be overemphasized, basically. So, where are we going to be in the future in terms of infrastructure? What's the role of society in infrastructural development? Elvis, you want to say something?
Talking about infrastructural development, government really has a lot to do in terms of infrastructure, but government in itself, I think, has not done very badly, but there a lot needs to be done. But the area I want to really focus on in terms of infrastructure is not about the inception or the conceptualization or the execution. There's one very key area that's really, there's a missing gap which has to do with, in a project cycle, which has to do with asset integrity management. There is this poor maintenance culture which we realize is a problem. We all know it's a problem, but not a lot of us are doing, making a lot of efforts towards getting rid of the problem. Now I'm talking about the highways, because of maintenance doesn't actually come easy. It's just, let's talk about health now. It's expected that you should probably do medical checkup periodically at a particular time, but because you think this medical checkup is going to cost you some money, you probably want to leave it until you have malaria and then you have no choice but to see the doctor. That's what happens to our amenities. These amenities, they are standard procedures that need to be followed to sustain them, to ensure that they are in perfect working condition as at when they were executed and commissioned. Now, it has to do with highway. There are times you need to relay the asphalt of the road. Probably the road was designed to have a design life of 5-10 years. But this road, nobody comes to relay asphalt. Why? Because it's going to cost government more. And even when government comes to relay asphalt on the road, people will feel, oh, it's an elephant project, because they don't understand the essence of maintenance policy. But then you have a gully and the road tears into pieces. And before you know it, it depreciates. Not only does it depreciate the value of the road, depreciate the economic situation of that environment, it depreciates the cars and the people here. We now have a spiral effect on everybody. But what now happens? The money you would have spent on maintenance, you now have to spend fresh money to create a new road. So in terms of infrastructure and amenities, it's important we evolve a maintenance culture. This maintenance culture is going to be sustained by us individuals. We need to learn to pay that sacrifice of spending 5 naira periodically, instead of having to spend 100 naira later on as a result of negligence due to non-maintenance. That's what I have to say.
Wow, well, that's good. That's so much. One thing again is the issue of infrastructure is not just a government thing. I was talking with someone earlier and I said to him, do you know that we invest so much in roofing houses in Nigeria, for instance, and some people can actually power their houses with solar panels, and with just a little additional cost, the total cost of your roofing, your normal maybe glazed roof or maybe long span roof and all of that, and you could provide power, you could rely strictly on the power that you personally generate from solar energy, and there are a lot of frameworks that people can be involved in to generate their electricity themselves, rather than waiting wholly on government to provide electricity. There are windmills, even in Aberdeen, for instance. You see 2-3 houses come together and they provide windmills for themselves, and that windmills so provide tangible amount of electricity to power at least a portion of their houses within certain times. Those are some of the things that we need to begin to look. I think for us, the focus should not be more on government must provide everything, because between the 60s and the 80s, socialist economies were all over the place and all of that. But at some point, we saw that socialism crippled. So if we are calling for socialism, that government must provide everything, it's not working. And the way the things are going now, it's like capitalism is the driving engine. But even though everybody has said both sides have failed, but the point is that people must wake up to take their destinies into their hands. As a people, as a nation, we must decide that the destiny of Nigeria, we must all build it together. The future of Nigeria is not going to be by one man coming to sit there in the seat of power and changing it. The future is going to be a nationalistic overview. It's something that every one of us will need to sit down and say, yes, Nigeria must grow. In our only two way, in whatever way we have or we can, we need to begin to make our own impact, our own contribution to sustainable economic development. It's been a wonderful time talking with you today. This is just the maiden edition, and lots more. Just sit tight, hold back, and you will see subsequent versions. We'll be talking to great leaders all over the world. We'll be talking to great experts, people who have succeeded in different spheres of life, and we'll be sharing their experiences all over the world and telling you what they've done right. We ourselves will be learning from those things that they've done right, and we'll be transferring those soft skills to Nigeria. Every one of us here are keen on contributing tangibly to Nigeria, both in business, both in leadership, both in media, in different spheres of life. And we are going to be creating this contribution by our own selves without having to wait on government. It's been nice talking with you. See you sometimes. Bye. Cheers.
We are the future.
A variety of ways. So I mentioned personal. There needs to be the avenue for people within the academic institutions to make meaningful contacts and to share interests with people in industry. The government also needs to play a very active role in bringing this type of synergy to happen.
We are the nation, we are part of this. Yes, we are so amazing, that's the least we shall be. At the heart of the nation, changing history. How can they say that we are finished? We have just begun when we have no